Hello there, outliers. Niiamah Shang here, and thank you so very much for letting us be a part of your journey. Wow, today we are like really, really lucky to have five incredible trailblazers join us here on the roundtable. I am very excited for you to get to meet them. Let's go ahead and introduce everyone here. Scott, let's start off with you. You mind telling us more about you and the game you're currently playing?
Yeah, my name is Scott McCarthy. So I play a split game, I would call it. By day, I serve in the Canadian Army as a senior logistics officer, and by night, I run a leadership development company. So yeah, that's my split game. That's what I play.
I like how you put it that way too, because I think there are a lot of like outliers out here that are playing a similar game. Maybe, like they may be playing it in different areas, but they're splitting their time. They're finding their ways to continue to grow on and such. So I'm glad you're here. I'm really looking forward to seeing your perspective on this.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. Maureen, let's get to know you. Mind letting us know more about you and the game you're playing?
Sure. My name is Maureen Zappala, calling in from Las Vegas, Nevada, not Nevada. Just so you know, it's not Nevada, it's Nevada. What game am I playing? Oh my gosh, I love football, college football specifically. So I'm in the fourth quarter of my game of life. And I say that because I've had some really great experiences. I'm a former rocket scientist from NASA. Then I was a mom. I'm a keynote speaker now. And in the fourth quarter, at my age, happy to just play this quarter out and see what overtime looks like.
That's fantastic, Maureen. It's really wonderful to be. I'm realizing I'm like I don't know if I've been in a conversation with a rocket scientist. So I'm really excited to see like where things take off here. I didn't mean to say that there, by the way. That was unintentional. Maureen, I'm glad that you're here. Thank you for joining us here, and thanks for playing so fully. Peter, let's come to you. Tell us more about you and the game you're playing.
Thanks for having me. My name is Peter Saddington. I am glad to be in this great cloud of witnesses. Maureen, I'm a fellow scientist, turned entrepreneur, turned venture capitalist. So I've raised over $40 million over the last decade through three vintages of funds. And the game that I'm playing is deploying capital into racing, motorsports, and technology. And so I think you guys can clearly see the inherited genetic disorder that I have. And so I am blessed to be able to deploy capital into racing and racing technology and motorsports. It's a growing game, and I am loving it, every minute of it.
That's awesome, Peter. It's good to have you here. Good to have you back here. And outlets for any of you that aren't watching the video, like I think it's really cool to kind of see Peter's office and where he's taking this call from right now. Because I think it speaks so loudly to like what it can be like as an integrated like outlier and trailblazer out there. Like it's all there. It's fun having you here. Thanks for being here. Lisa, let's come to you. Mind letting us know more about you and the game you're playing?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for having me here in such great company. I'm having fun already, even though we just started. I am calling in from, I'm Lisa Hopkins. I call myself a creative energy optimizer. And under that umbrella, I do a lot of things. I I have a background in the performing arts in New York City most of my life. I call dance my first love. Had a wonderful career there, and I am now focusing on creativity and working with folks to express themselves creatively in all aspects of their lives, to live creatively. I'm a podcaster, an author, a high performance coach, and the game I play is staying true to myself, which is a really fun and easy game. I always win. I'm kidding. I, you know, I think of life as a game, and I'm up for it. I'm up for, you talked about uncertainty, as something we might be chatting about. That's where I live. I live in the places where there are spaces. So that's me.
The places where there are spaces, Lisa, I haven't heard that. I love that there. I'm excited that you're here. I also love like physicality as well. So if there's any point where you feel like we're getting stiff here, where you're seeing something here where we can be more creative, bring it into the mix. All right.
I got you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. I had a feeling you got our back. All right, Joey, bring us home on this one. Do you mind letting us know more about you and the game you're playing?
Yeah, for sure. Joey Ragona here, and I've been an entrepreneur my entire life, ever since I can remember. It's the only thing that I really know, and the game that I play right now, I suppose, would be going the unfunnel method, which is a proprietary thing that I've been doing since 2020. That's the official game. But realistically, I'm here to actually help entrepreneurs stop sacrificing their life for their business. That's the entire mission that I do. So I have been a person who's gone against the grain forever. I do everything opposite of what everybody else does. One of my taglines now is "We do different," and that's exactly what we do, and that's the way we stand out. So the unfunnel is everything opposite of what standard funnels are. So anything standard within marketing business, I'm doing the opposite, and that's what helps me grow my business, get clients coming to me without pressure and all that other cool stuff. And one other thing, talking about the uncertainty, that's my jam. I love living in that. I'm the guy who walks into the clouds or walks into the darkness, and it's like, bring it on. And I'll bring it back and say, this is what you don't do. This is what you do. So I'm all up for this conversation.
All right, so let's play, y'all. Like we have ourselves a fully stacked round table. I actually do want to just start off here. There was something that was coming into this space here where I was like, hey, normally I'll just see what's in the space and drive from there. But what was coming to me as I came into this conversation was like, yo, I'm feeling the uncertainty all around and how people are choosing to navigate or not navigate with it. Some are bunkering down, some are playing out in different ways. And I was talking to a client about how I showed up the last like in 2020, and I realized like, oh, there were things that I did doing there that I want to do differently now. And so I'm really curious from you all. And what I'll do is I'll toss this in. Whoever feels like taking it, take it, and then we'll just keep the conversation flowing. How are you all? How are you all navigating uncertainty, whether or not you even feel it right now? How do you tend to navigate it either on a macro scale or on a micro scale with the things that you're doing inside of your businesses and beyond?
Well, I'll jump right in.
Yeah.
My
Thanks, Peter. And if you wouldn't mind saying your names the first time that we outlined for the
Sure,
chance to like
sure.
connect them.
So this is Peter Saddington again. So I'll jump right in. I am in a great group. We're a motley crew. It seems like all of us are here as outliers, and we're willing to do things that we never thought we'd do, and we're doing things that we never thought we'd experience. I never thought, and frankly, I didn't even really know that I was going to be hanging out with five other great people here. So this is awesome that I already know that all of you live in a world of uncertainty. But for me, as a venture capitalist, that is my world, and so I thrive in that world of uncertainty. And I think what I've done is I've logically looked at it from just the reality is around us. I don't know what tomorrow is. I don't know what tomorrow holds. There are things that I feel like I can control. There are things that I feel like I know. But at the end of the day, tomorrow is completely uncertain. And so what we do is we prepare ourselves, at least from a venture capitalist perspective, we do our diligence, we make the best informed decisions on data that we possibly can. And so that's my respite. That's my solution for a world of uncertainty, is to look at the data and allow the data to help inform my decisions, even though at the end of the day, I can't control outcome. I can only control input. And so we make our best decisions on data. And for us as a venture capital firm, we're very, very tied into making data-centric decisions. And that's the best thing that we got.
Yeah, this is Maureen Zappala. I love that. When my kids were little, they're in their 20s now. It's funny how you remember things that mom said when you were little. And this one they remember. I would say to them all the time, stop talking about the problem, start solving the problem. Because they would just mini moan and whine and, flail about. And I couldn't handle that. I'm a doer. There's a problem, go fix it. I'm the engineer. That's what we do. We fix things. And a lot of it is data driven, like you said, but it's also resting on your own ability to fix the problem or to make a change that will get you towards solution. When COVID hit, for example, I'm a keynote speaker. Guess what was wiped out? My entire business, like boom, overnight was wiped out. I mini moaned, I boohooed, drove my mastermind group crazy because I cried every day for, I don't know, a month. And then I was like, okay, stop talking about the problem, start solving the problem. What would I do if if I had to start over, what would I do? Oh, look, I have to start over. What should I do? And I always wanted to be a decorator, something completely out of my training, professional background, experience, but I just like doing it. So I got a job as a decorator. A store hired me, and I loved it. And what I learned when you talk about uncertainty, I walked into that store not knowing anything about corporate structure, uh, customer service, retail. That particular store, it was a Lazy Boy store. Nothing really about Lazy Boy other than it was iconic. I had a lot of uncertainty going on, but I just brought it. I brought me, I brought my optimism, I brought my desperate need for income and found out, wow, there's more to me than I even thought. So I think heading into uncertainty, embrace the opportunity to learn something about you that you didn't even know you had.
I love that.
I'd like to dovetail off both Peter and Maureen and Scott McCarthy here and tie them two together from my perspective. So, I'm in year 25 of my military career, and the bulk part of my military career spent in what we call high readiness operations. So, I'd get a phone call and be gone, and I wouldn't know when I would be back home. Bags were literally always packed, ready to roll. So we could refer to that type of environment as VUCA, volatile, uncertain, and volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. And that's where I lived for quite a long time within my military career, um, literally all over the globe with it. But to dovetail off Marine, because that's kind of Peter's aspect, right? It's home to me personally, because I'm so used to it now. I'm like, I never know what's going to happen. Phone would ring, I'd be like, I don't know. With like, where you off to now? Can't tell you. How long when you gonna be home? Don't know.
Oh.
And that was life for a long time. It drove her nuts, by the way. But there's challenges to it, as Marine, eloquently highlighted. But what I would always say is like, let's find the opportunity here, because on the other side of the coin, there's always opportunity to a challenge. Before we hit record here, we all said where we were from, and I said I'll split between Montreal and Kingston because I'm here in Montreal working during the weekday. My family's back in the Kingston, Ontario area, so I'm here by myself. So that's a huge challenge, right? But then what's the opportunity? Well, the opportunity is I'm free to do in the evenings these types of things and work on my business, on my side hustle and stuff like that. So that's what I would say is, for me, I'm super comfortable because I look for the opportunities out of the challenges that are in front of us.
Mm. Lisa Hopkins here. It's such an interesting prompt. What comes up for me is, well, what I'm hearing from you guys that I can, really sort of relate to is that, uncertainty is an opportunity for growth, right? I was thinking about Maureen, starting something new and the beginner's mindset. I mean, you're a rocket scientist. So, I would be willing to bet that if you were starting something new in that field where you're the expert, that might be harder than to go to the beginner mindset of, this is something new. I'm not supposed to be good at this, right?
That's so true. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So that's really cool to me. That stood out to me. What's pinging for me is that uncertainty is an inside job, meaning things are only uncertain if you perceive them as being uncertain, if you are not certain. Things aren't uncertain. It's like nature is not uncertain. Nature has no feelings, no prejudices. When the day's nice, it's not being nice for us. We interpret it that way and it becomes a nice day. So I think uncertainty works the same way. I don't know. What do you guys think about that?
No,
feel...
you're absolutely, I 100% agree. The topic that I talk about in my keynotes is imposter syndrome, and it always screams the loudest in uncertainty. So you think that you have no confidence when actually you have no familiarity with what you're stepping into.
Yep.
I agree. Are you finished, Lisa? I don't want to interrupt here.
Yeah, whatever. I'm open. So go for it.
Identify with what you're talking about there, and everybody here. And I'm coming at this from a perspective of an entrepreneur who it's hard for me to answer the question or to identify with uncertainty in the way that I've been hearing it here. Not that I'm better or worse than anybody else. It's just because it's part of my DNA. Like I don't identify with it in terms of the reality of what's going on. Doesn't mean I'm totally out to lunch, but it's like I just don't identify with it because I'm always moving forward, right? So uncertain to me is like it's every minute of my day, but it's not chaotic. So I grew up with people asking me and challenging me, and it still does to they would say, well, how are you going to do that? My answer is always, I have no idea, but I'll figure it out. And that's where people have been doubting me all my life. So it's not only to make them see that there's a path forward without knowing where the actual path is. And then when we talk about data, like I'm not a data-driven person. I'm a heart-led person. I'm everything is through my gut. Doesn't mean I don't look at data. I don't think it's wrong or anything like that. It's just that when because I'm dealing with so many entrepreneurs or people that are in the business, they get stuck in data a lot for me. And they're second guessing all the time. So I bring in the data when I need it, but everything that I do is about heart centeredness and about how do I feel with this in my gut? So, for example, I don't know if we will even get into this, with AI coming into this world, there's huge uncertainty going on. Now, I've already identified that, okay, how is this going to affect us? And what am I doing now? So, I don't think, and I could be wrong, you guys can tell me, that there's data that we can really look at to say, this is what we need to look at in terms of how this is going to affect us. It's more about how is it going to philosophically, or how is it going to impact our business, and what are we going to do about it? So right now I'm doing something about it, and to make sure that I'm identifying what I see as I call the AI winter storm. I don't mean to bring this into that kind of a conversation, but what that is, and predicting what's going to happen for my clients and my world, to say, guys, get ready for this. And that is all about uncertainty. But as you all said, it's a huge opportunity. And that's the only time that I'll really look at what's going on in the world, to look at, okay, this is uncertain. I've seen it, and I'm going to close the newspaper. I'm going to turn off the TV and all that stuff, and I'm just going to keep going.
Joey, if I can jump on, this is Lisa.
Yeah.
The data point thing is such a salient point for me.
Yeah.
Because what you just said is what I say to my clients, right? As a coach, we only use data. Data happened in the past.
Right.
And data only serves us in a coaching scenario in order to move forward if we can learn something from the data. But
Right.
to hold on to the data and allow it to dictate the fear. And I think really we're in the business of creating new data.
Yeah.
If you want, right? So that it's an interesting, you got me kind of going, I'm going to write about this. It's an interesting thing, because every minute, like today, in this past 15 minutes, we've been creating new data, literally and figuratively, metaphorically.
I think,
right?
100%. Because I mean, that's where I'm a data geek. Like I have, content or information about all my clients. I'm constantly looking at data. So if you looked at my internal systems or in Notion or something, you're like, well, dude, you're like all data. Well, yeah, but that's, like you said, it's after the fact. I'm connecting the dots after it's all happened. Now, in terms of what Peter said, like I'm also a professional real estate investor. There's no way I'm going to go buy a piece of real estate without analyzing the data, right? So I'm still understanding that part of it, but still, like in that scenario, it's opposite. Like you take emotion out of the investment. If you're emotionally doing that, you're screwed, right?
And you're using the data to help you move forward now,
Right.
not to go, why the hell were things that way? Right?
Peter, I'm seeing you, Peter. I want to bring you in. What you got on this?
Yeah, I think data can be seen from both perspectives, right? From the analytical, the qualitative, the quantitative, but also, as the Egyptians called, your stomach being your second mind, your second brain, your gut. Gut, that is good data.
Yes.
Right. I'm in my mid 40s, right? So I have teenagers. And one of the lessons that we've talked about in regards to uncertainty and making good decisions is trust your gut. You already know how it ends, right? Right? I already know how it ends, right? You already know how the story ends, and your gut tells you that. And I think that's important data to overlay onto the qualitative and the quantitative. But if I may, I really wanted to get to Lisa's kind of meta level uncertainty stems from, and I wanted to answer that, if I may. You posited this idea of where does this uncertainty come from? I noodled on it for a second, and I wrote down, I think it comes from expectations. I think it comes from expectations of what a future should be or
Hmm.
could be or what you want it to be. And I think for us as adults, we've all realized that uncertainty is just the reality of the game,
Hmm.
right? And how we have, whether we want to call it a cope or whether it's just our adaptive nature, right? There's a spectrum there. Um, we've all realized that this is just a necessary evil or a necessary function of the system in the game that we're playing. And we've all, what I've loved hearing from all of us is the different ways that we have dealt with or coped or deal with the world of uncertainty. For Joey, it's DNA level, right? For Maureen and myself, it's maybe a little bit more data centric. For Lisa and Scott, it's different as well. And so I really appreciate all of our different vantage points into it. So I'd love to throw it out to you guys. Am I directionally correct in this idea that uncertainty stems from an expectation of a future consideration?
I think it's not just of a future consideration, which could very well be very skewed. We have unrealistic ideas of what that future should be. But it also, I think, is an expectation of what we think we are capable of or not capable of. And those expectations sometimes are put upon us. We just adopt them from our background, our family, our culture, our corporate structure.
Our
So
trauma.
our trauma, for sure. So, we need to really evaluate expectations from both sides. What's put on us and what do we expect of ourselves? And
I'm glad.
come to a more reasonable. I don't say lower your standards. That's not what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah.
saying have a reasonable expect. Okay, so Lisa, you're a dancer. I'm not, but I started taking ballroom dance lessons 3 years ago, having no business being a ballroom dancer. I walk in every twice, 3 times a week, still not great, having a blast because I've set my expectation of I'm not a lifelong dancer. I'm never going to look like that kind of thing. But I'm still having a great time. So it's not lowering your standards. It's reevaluating the expectation or the level of competence, I guess, or what it takes to be competent or satisfied or adequate.
Mhm.
Or what it takes,
So
this is Lisa, but what it takes to, it's interesting, and maybe we don't want to go there, that what you said, Maureen, about the dance piece, because whenever anyone says, like, as a professional dancer, what an incredible gift it is to just want to dance just for fun. So just even the notion that there's a criteria for someone who doesn't makes me wonder, why not just do something for fun? What stands in the way? That's the uncertainty, I suppose. There we are back at the uncertainty piece, right? Like, you're uncertain of yourself. And I love this, like, the data is that good dancers look like this.
Yeah.
And people who, who have taken classes before get better than me, and we can't help but look around to see how we fit in. But I say, why not just dance for fun?
Yeah.
Scott, I heard
I,
you had something you wanted to
yeah,
bring in. Yeah.
I think expectations the end result at the end of the line per se of that whole thing. And the start of it is information. Lack of information is what's for sure going to drive uncertainty. When you don't have enough information, like that's completely and utterly the situation is ambiguous. The second step of it, then it becomes knowledge. If you don't know what the heck that information is even telling you, that will drive uncertainty. And then if you got the information, you understand what the heck it's trying to tell you, and then you suddenly start making expectations based on that knowledge, and you go, I don't know if we're going to be able to meet whatever it is that we're trying to do here, then that's going to drive the uncertainty as well. So
You sound like an
I think
engineer, the way you laid all that out in such a beautiful.
I'm a military planner. I'm
Yes,
sorry. That's
of
exactly
course,
how we
yeah.
basically right?
love
We lay
it.
things out, check, 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 check. But to go back to like, how do we combat that? And Maureen, like, I'm going to go back to your dancing. I'm going to take military like operations. I'm going to overlay with this dancing. And I'm going to go back to no matter what type of situation I find myself in, I go back to one statement, which I say to myself all the time, and is you don't know squat. I'll keep this PG because I don't know what we keep this at. But you don't know squat. And then you're like, okay, now that eliminates expectations. I don't know anything about this. I'm going to learn about it. I'm
Yeah.
going to get the information I need to know. I'm going to learn about it so I can go ahead and then manage those expectations so I can clarify the situation in front of me. The job I'm in right now is a complete another 180 from my core life within the military. I have no business. Like, if I explain to you what I've done in the past and what I'm doing now, you would go, you scratch your head and go, why are you doing that? Because that's not aligned to your expertise, but this is just the way the Army works. I'll try to figure out myself one day too. But when I showed up, I'm like, well, I don't know squat, so I'm going to learn. And I'm the guy that's in charge.
You
Right?
all,
But
you all
that's,
are.
it's
Go ahead,
just,
Scott,
it's
bring us
just,
up.
yeah, it's just, and that gets rid of that uncertainty. Like, okay, I don't know anything, so I'm going to learn. And then I
And
go through that
here's
whole
the thing
process.
too, for some people, the even saying I'm going to learn, they may be people that in normal things or many things that were familiar, they picked things up quickly. So if they struggle, they equate that with, oh, I'm really stupid. This should be easier I figured that out quicker. Why can't I figure this out quicker? So again, there's some
Yeah.
uncertainty about my abilities because like, oh, like I should have figured out how to do cha-cha faster than I did because I
Is
could figure out calculus really fast.
Yeah, is that tied to uncertainty or is that tied to ego?
It's not ego. Um, and some of it is uncertainty because it's an unfamiliar feeling. Like, wow, this is taking longer than I thought. I need to ask for more help than I thought.
Yeah.
Well,
I,
that poses the question, this is Lisa again, that, part of my whole thing that I work on and that I stop my clients about is should. I call I should, I could with shame.
Yeah.
You lose the shame and you're standing in I could, and that is possibility. And from there, you either ask yourself, do I want to, which is the next energetic choice, or, or not. And then the next question might be how and why. I mean, that's when you start to, because learning is important to me, or because whatever whatever values show up for you there. But when we're shoulding ourselves all over the place, then, how effective do you think we're going to be?
Yeah.
You all are fantastic. I'm going to step in here. I've enjoyed this, and outliers. I'm gonna do two things here. One, like, notice this. This is happening organically, and I want to thank each of you for stepping into it and continuing to grow and to lead into a conversation that's actually interesting for you. That's how this thing works, right? And so thank you for leaning into that. Secondly, thank you for elevating the conversation from there. And the part that's really fun for me, I forget who was, one of y'all brought this in here, but it's like this whole thing is uncertainty, right? We're having a conversation about uncertainty, unmuted, unmiked, with the mic going on. We're navigating it here. The question that the initial question that I put out, which wasn't all that refined, was able to then come out and like lead itself to this. And so, like, outliers, if you're looking at this here, you're going to hear like what we say, but also pay attention to the tapestry in which this is done, right? Like how this is happening. That's the real transformation. That's the real opportunity that's there, and see how this is being navigated and take some time in. I'm going to move on to the next question just a bit, but I also want to acknowledge Peter. Lisa asked a question. Lisa, a great question that you're bringing in, right? And what really struck me was that you took the time to answer it. You're like, she asked this question. I'm going to sit with this for a little bit, and I like to come back with that. And it was like I have a thing in my space. I say no rhetorical questions, or no, actually that's not it. You can answer. You can say that, but no question goes unanswered, especially rhetorical questions, right?
Mm.
And so it means something here, and I think that these are some of the opportunities we have, especially in this, like, regardless of where you are. I think this is one of the things that we have as outliers, where it's like we can take that thing that most other people see and actually interact with it, And so I'm grateful for you. Let's keep. I have a feeling that uncertainty and stuff is going to keep coming in the conversation. I want to actually take us to a place right now that uh, Maureen said a while ago. She said something about when you took on that job, you're in a desperate need for income, and at that time, all five of us, or all six of us, were like, "Yep, been there, got that, you know. And so I like to talk about that and bring room for that in this space, especially when we talk to outliers and trailblazers, because like it's so different, especially once you do your own thing, right? To go from, you know, a lot of people successful 6-figure plus jobs, right, where they're comfortable, they like so on and so forth, and they say, but I'm taking a bet on me. I'm taking a bet on us, and I'm going to go create things. And then eventually you get to the point where at some point in your career, you get to a desperate need for income. And I've been thinking about this. I'm like, I don't think this stops. I think like you could be making really good money, like, and at the same, or your business can be, but then you're like, I have a very large payroll to make. And if I don't make this very large payroll, like I'm in a desperate need for income, even though there's a lot of people there. Even though I'm good, but there's still something there. So I want to just kind of bring into this space here and see like how you all well, this one I want to just give space to breath around like be coming from a place of that when it's felt more desperate, and how you all have like either navigated, how you look at it, how you work with people on it, on moving through that, if that when that becomes a reality for you, or if it does here. I'll leave it at that, and I'll leave the uncertainty of the question to guide us from there. All right. Anyone want to get us started on it?
I'll jump.
Well,
Sorry.
oh, sorry, go ahead. Whoever jumped in
No,
there.
no, no, no. Go ahead, because I'm probably the least one to answer this question because coming from an entrepreneurial background or all my life, I've lived this in my entire life. So I'd love to hear from the perspectives of someone who has had a job. And I know this from my clients, but I come at this from a completely different view.
Yeah, when I worked for NASA, I was very well paid. Got married. My husband did very well at the time, and I chose to step away from full-time work to raise kids, even though we didn't have them yet. And at the same time that I stepped away from my very, very lucrative job at NASA, he was in a commission sales rep. They restructured his compensation plan, and our income dropped by about 70%. Dropped down by 70%. So I'm like, okay, what can I get rid of? Okay, get rid of the manicures, get rid of the cleaning lady, get rid of the multiple trips out for dinner. We just readjusted. Fast forward years later, got divorced, was not working at NASA anymore, had become a speaker. COVID hit. Here's what I didn't mention. I have a very deep spiritual connection. I'm a Christian. That's very much a big part of my life. That amplified my relationship, my desperation of like, God, you've got to help me get through this. So that's not a very mainstream answer, but for me, it certainly did get me through those. I just had to trust God more. That's bottom line. That's what I had to do. I had to work, and I had to pray, and I had to hustle.
I'll add maybe a perspective from the venture capital space. In our third vintage fund, $16 million fund, we deployed capital into 23 startups over 2022 and 2023 and early 2024 into AI, Web3, and Bitcoin investments in early stage. One of the things that we've always counseled our investments in when things pivot wrong, or the market takes a downturn, or you don't close the client, or you don't do the thing, right, is don't flail. Don't flail. It's so easy to say, okay, well, I saw this on TikTok, I should do this. Or I saw this thing on the YouTubes, I should do that instead. Or, I need to try this. It's like, no, calm yourself first, right? Things have changed, right? The world has changed, right? The landscape has changed now. But don't flail. Uh, find something. Find something that you can harden yourself to focus on, so that you can focus your energy towards that productive endeavor to get you back on into an income track. Whether if we're thinking about startups, right, we need to think about a different strategy, marketing, branding, communication, narrative, collateral, media, right? There's so much that we can do, but don't flail. You can't do everything, right, under the sun. Focus on just the things that you know that you can execute on and take iterative steps towards that. And I think if we can bring in the uncertainty idea here, that is a very progressive and I think simple way of dealing with uncertainty is, and I've counseled young blood entrepreneurs literally by saying to them, just lay a brick tomorrow.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That's it. We're building a wall here. We know what the goal is, right? We're building the wall. So and the wall will be built. However, things have changed. So tomorrow, you don't need to lay 50 bricks, just lay one.
Mm.
And maybe tomorrow, maybe the next day you'll lay another one because it's tough. You're taking it, right? You need time. But maybe day 3 you'll lay 2 bricks, right? And so, that's my best counsel to these young bloods who go through massive market shifts or major pivots or major issues that happen that are, completely emergent and unknown in the complex and somewhat chaotic domains, right? And so we say, no worries, don't flail. There's a lot to do, but we're building a wall brick by brick.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
I love that.
I'll come in with
go ahead.
a perspective of maybe to show you. This is Joey, by the way, how my entrepreneurial brain works, and maybe with a short couple of different pivot points or milestone in my life. And one of them I told you about when I was I still am a real estate investor, professional real estate investor. That only happened because I sold my family company, which is something I didn't want to be in because of, again, energetic and all that stuff. And at that point, very shortly, when I sold that company, I was able to pay off my entire house. So for one day, I was literally debt free and with $100,000 or something in the bank. Now, at that point, I could have said, look, we're going to just coast for the next 5 or 6 years and go to Hawaii and have all these other kind of trips and things like that. But I decided, and I had nothing to do with real estate at that point. I said, we should take this money and invest it for our future because uncertainty. I have no idea what's going to happen here. I have no job. I have nothing. And that's when I dove into real estate. I took a line of credit on my house, the newly paid off house, which is 24 hours old now, 24 hours of debt free, and to buy real estate, to be able to buy real estate and invest that other money inside of it. The next 5 years, whatever it was me learning everything I could about real estate. And by the way, this was in 2008, which all y'all know, which was the worst economic time ever. And then I bought properties in 2008, 9, and 11, all of where the financial crashes were. Because of my ignorance to what's going on in the world, people are like, what are you doing? What are you buying real estate for? I'm like, I have no idea. This looks like a good property. It cash flows at least $10 a month, and that's fantastic for me. Lo and behold, here we are years later. Now I've got a huge portfolio because of that, and because of that investment of like knowing nothing about doing that. Now, I want to preface this with, or should have prefaced this with, don't take my advice. Like, don't follow my lead. Don't go and do anything financially that Joey did because I'm an idiot. Don't do it. But however, that's just the way that I operate when I don't have any money. So because I have built up equity, I will just go and take money from that and be able to coast through that and build up good debt. That's the way I do it. Whether it's financially right or wrong, that's just the way to do it because I do not want to go back and lose my freedom. I'm all about freedom. That's the way my brain works, right? Now, if you put me up against the wall, maybe something would change. But up until this point, I'm 60 years old at this point. Nothing's changed. That's exactly the way that I do everything. So I approach it as, I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll go and learn it. And like I said, it's like, how are you going to go do that? Have no idea. So that's how I deal with no money coming in. Is like I'll build it out. And that's only one milestone. Then there's a couple of other milestones that I did, but I'll leave it to somebody else to interject.
Joey, you said you'd have the most different one. You're pretty close, I think. I'll probably just, I'm not trying to make this competition, but
Yeah.
Competition. I don't care.
Yeah.
When it comes to finances, because for me, it's a side hustle. Like I am quite well, like by rights, everyone and their dog asks me why I do what I do because I don't need to do what I do. My job is demanding enough as it is. The day job, from everything I've told you to like what I'm doing right now and being.
But you're paid for it though, aren't you? You're paid for your other job.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
That's a completely different thing, bro.
Right, but what I'm saying though is for my business side, it doesn't matter to me what my income could go to zero. I'm not motivated from my business side to bring in the income. But what gets me sometimes like, well, why am I doing what I'm doing? Why am I doing this extra side hustle, all this extra work, using up every single little bit of free time I got when I could be sitting back watching Netflix, playing PlayStation, doing anything and everything else under the sun. But instead I'm trying to build a business. And it goes back to, I'll use military terminology, my desired end state. In civilian speak, we will call that a dream. Okay, and that's where I want to get, and that's what I just keep in my mind. Like I've clients show up, clients go. One point I realized like I had a community going, it was going quite well, and then suddenly for a whack of different reasons, all of which were completely and utterly understandable, all my clients disappeared one day, and I'm like, well, should I just quit and just focus on my actual career? And because this apparently isn't working, and then I go, no, that's not what I want later. So I just keep focusing on that desired end state. So for me, it's not the money isn't the driving factor for now. Should when I retire from the army, it will become much more of a factor. So that's why I say it's a little bit different for me. But again, I'm in a very different situation where this is a side gig for me for my business. I have a full-time career which pays me quite well now as it is.
I love that, Scott. This is Lisa. It's really beautiful. The answer to that question of that people ask you, why do you do it? I think is your pot of gold right
Every
there.
day, every day.
It's your pot of gold though, right? I mean, it's like
Yeah.
if people can't understand why you do it, but it's what you want to do, I mean, you're golden. I mean, I think that's really very inspiring and very beautiful. I wanted to respond to Peter. It stuck in my head what you were saying about when you were mentoring your folks, and when shit hits the fan or whatever, and stuff breaks down, that you remind them to slow down and and just understand that one brick today is totally fine. And what kept coming into my head was, you haven't forgotten how to lay bricks. You have
Right.
not, no one can take that away from you. And it may be, as Stephen Covey said, I think it was Stephen Covey said in the 7 Habits of what's called of Highly Effective People, whatever the book's called, in leadership, it's being a leader is understanding sometimes when stuff goes sideways that, instead of like hashing through the jungle, right, trying to deal with all the, slay all the dragons, you climb up a different tree and realize you're in the wrong jungle or you're building the wrong wall. And that's not personal. And when you can take things feeling personal out of it, then you lose that shame, Maureen, right? Or any of us. And you start to realize, these are the things we can't control. And that makes, for me, uncertainty kind of a beautiful, brilliant space, because it allows me to operate at full speed, because I don't know, but I want to try. I'm going to go for it, and I think about myself with, I'm with you, Joey, on that. I've been an entrepreneur my entire life. I mean, everything I've done, I've created. We started writing our own shows, our own musicals, and touring them nationally and internationally. Why? Because, well, I don't know, that we weren't on Broadway yet or whatever. So we're like, well, we'll do our own. We had no idea how to do it. We went to the first booking conference where, all the big wigs were doing it, and we just did it our way. And you just kind of create it. The other thing that, just real quick, was who was it, guys, that said something to the effect of, I wrote it down, the only thing we can be sure of is uncertainty, right? I don't know if it was Buddha himself or something. I'm paraphrasing, right? But it's true.
Right.
It's the only thing that we can be certain of. So then it's the number one thing we don't need to be afraid of uncertainty, because there it
Right.
is.
It's very similar to the entire idea of, right, the only constant in the world is change,
Change.
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
The only
Right.
constant in the world is change.
Yes.
And I think if I can bring it back to the question from Niiamah.
And this would be the last thing we're saying. We'll wrap up from there.
Okay. Just bringing it back to the question, dealing with financial struggles. We've all been there, right? I saw all of us, our nonverbal body language move when that came up. We've all been there, right? And I think that can be one of the most uncertain of times, if I can tie those two together, right? You're thinking about your future. You're thinking about your kids, your spouse, your house, your debt. There's everything, right? Everything begins collapsing into a black hole. And this is certainly, if I can bring it again to the startup world and entrepreneurial world, right? It seems like the world's ending, right? Runway is out, right? The burn is done. Your money is gone, right? All you have is a strategy and half a product, right? And in those moments of uncertainty, whether it's personal financial issues or venture capital or startups or starting a business, right? Anything to deal with finances or tight finances, right, brings uncertainty. And I think what I've appreciated from all of the perspectives of everyone here is that I think we can all agree that we need to calm ourselves, focus ourselves, right? And I think in many ways, many of us have had to rebuild our lives brick by brick. And so in the world of financial tightness and in the world of uncertainty, I think the simple answer is brick by brick. Do the next thing, step by step, right?
And flail.
And don't
Don't
flail. Yeah,
flail.
don't flail. Yeah.
I love that.
You all have been absolutely fantastic. I've been grinning mainly from like ear to ear like this entire conversation. And I want to say thank you on behalf of all outliers. And I'll say not from a high like a hypothetical perspective. This conversation was meaningful to me, and I want to say that here. You all played and you brought in very different perspectives on what I like to say is like you're not like-minded, you're like-hearted, and that means a lot to me. I think, and that's the space we get to play. I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh, this is back pocket. I'm coming back to this conversation over and over again because there's more than one way. And outliers, as we spent time having conversation, the six of us were having this conversation, you were actually the seventh person. Right? You were answering the questions, same way that Peter was out there answering things when Lisa brought things, or we were asking these other questions here. You've always been a part of this conversation. So ask yourself, how do you navigate uncertainty? What are the things that about you? What would be your response to this? Like, come join us in this conversation, right? And when you do that, I'm going to invite you to go and spread this conversation and share it with your world. Please take the time to go and make sure that your world knows about this conversation because something good really did happen here. And with that, there's probably one person in your life right now who would really benefit from hearing this conversation. Someone who's either going through an uncertain time or is in the desperation. Maybe they're flailing right now. Just send them this message. And I really like to grow things from this standpoint. I call it the one person, one conversation at a time initiative. There's something in it. I think this is if every person who gets this can think of the next person who should get this, and it just kept going on, this would reach all the people it's supposed to reach. And we get to that actual element of real impact. So we're going to end this conversation now with all of you here doing two things, and we're going to keep this one fairly short so we can wrap this up. But what I want to do is have you each share with outliers how they can go deeper down the journey with you. And also, if we put outliers to the side, we've been able to share a lot with them. What's one insight that you are taking away from this conversation? And if there's nothing that you're taking away, that's also fine. You can share that here. But if we can, we'll go through fairly succinctly how we can go deeper down the journey with you and an insight that you are taking from this conversation. Joey, we'll start with you.
Oh, okay. The insight I loved, I didn't get a chance to respond to the expectation conversation, but I loved that conversation because it gave me new perspectives of, again, outside of my entrepreneurial world of expectations. And I've been having a huge conversation with myself and with AI about my own expectations because I have trouble with setting goals and in terms of the expectation of that goal, just because of the way I operate in the world. So I'm really glad that that conversation came up because now I can navigate it a little bit more and I'm very comfortable with where the space that I'm in terms of that. So thank you all for bringing that up. I think it was Peter who actually started that conversation and brought that expectation thing to this conversation. I guess to go deeper with me is just to go to my website, strategicbusinessacademy.com. If you want to have a conversation, if you are an online business person, heart-centered, and want to buy back 96% of your time without all the funnels and all these other things, and you're heart-centered and you have a mission, that would be the first place to go. I'm always available. You can look me up on Facebook as well. I'm always available to have a chat very quickly without any sales pressure, by the way. There's nothing like that that's happening. That's part of things that I'm all against.
Thank you, Joey. Thank you for being here, and thank you for playing so fully here today.
Thank you.
Why don't we go to Maureen?
Yeah, sure. My reflection, my aha moment. I'm gonna say it again. Don't flail. I'm a flailer. I just made that word up. I flail a lot. So don't flail because I'm a problem solver. I'm like, problem, what are we gonna do? We gotta go do something. So yeah, don't flail. Thank you for that. to go deeper with me, I've got my website, maureenz.com. A lot of resources. I am primarily a fee-based keynote speaker, exclusively on imposter syndrome, but I also have some other resources. I've written a few books. I have a video series about it, and I'm launching a masterclass, an online virtual masterclass coming up. I keep saying it's coming up. I haven't really launched it yet. It's all ready to go. I just gotta pull the trigger and get it going.
Well, by the time you listen to this, Outliers, it's probably out there. So go out there and go check it out. All right. All right. Thank you, Maureen. I appreciate you. Thanks for being here. Peter, let's come to you, and then we'll go to Lisa next.
Oh, I mean, I'm a very analog guy, so I took tons of notes from our entire conversation. So, and I my how my brain works is in creating models. And so I created models as we began to talk here, and I created a model of how to reduce uncertainty, 5 steps. First is, and comes from Scott, information and data, and Maureen, information and data. And number 2, knowledge about the idea, right? Learn about it, right? The data is the data, but if you don't actually, apply it and have knowledge and understand it, then it's not going to help you. Number 3, level set expectations appropriately. And this came from all of us. Number 4, and this came from Maureen, self-awareness. Be self-aware. You're a noob. You're a beginner mindset, right? If you're starting over, if you're in an uncertain world, you're not going to be pro. And finally, step by step, don't flail. So if you want to reduce uncertainty, information, knowledge, level setting expectations, self-awareness, and do the next thing step by step. That is what I have gleaned from our amazing conversation today. If you want to find more information about me, you can chat GBT me or Google me at Peter Saddington, Saddington. It's all there. The internet knows all.
Thank you so much, Peter. That was good. I picked up something from that there. So I appreciate you. All right, we'll go to Lisa, and then we'll Scott, bring us home on this one. Lisa, you might let us know biggest insight, and then how we can go deeper down the journey.
Yeah, my biggest insight is probably something visceral and forming. So I don't know that I can be there yet. Yeah, I'm gonna sit with it for a minute. I've thoroughly enjoyed all of you, although I trusted that I would. For me, it's not a binary kind of scenario, so I had no expectations. So I couldn't even say that this has exceeded my expectations. In fact, full disclosure, I forgot that I said I was going to do this, and thank you for sending the reminder, Niiamah, because I did have a moment of like, oh crap.
Mm-hmm.
But I am so glad that that the universe brought us together, and I'm truly grateful for that, and for meeting such interesting, powerful human beings. I'm really grateful for that. So thanks. I've really enjoyed playing with you all. You can find out more about me. I don't know. I have a podcast, Stop Time, Live in the Moment. It's available anywhere. It's very highly ranked, and I'm really proud of it. The Places Where There Are Spaces is a book that I published. You can find that on my website, which is wideopenstages.com. If you are looking to cultivate a life of creative possibilities, there's lots of ways to access me. I am not on a client binge. I am a coach, but I'm a referral and invitation only. But there are so many other ways to get the insights for free. So feel free to reach out if you want to have a conversation. And again, thank you so much for you listeners for coming. As a podcaster, I know, and as a former performing artist, we always said before we went on, when we were creating shows, is that how do we say it? The audience is the last cast member. In this case, the listener is what makes this sweet. So even though I've had a great time, and even if Niiamah never put it out, that'd be great. But you guys make it sweet. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you for being here.
Yeah.
Scott, bring us home on this one here.
For my insight, like one would think that this would be the start of a joke. Military officer, a dancer, a rocket science, an entrepreneur, and a venture capitalist walk into a bar.
Yeah.
But instead, we walked into Zoom and we had this phenomenal conversation. And it just shows no matter what, we are so more alike than we are different.
Oh, yeah.
And right, and it's just always, no matter where I go in the world, it's always, we're so more alike than we are different, and just wish more people would understand that.
Amen.
So that's my insight. Still think it could be the start of a joke. Someone please finish it from the audience. But anyway, how to find me, follow me. So I'm Scott McCarthy. I help leaders cut noise, build high-performing teams that think for themselves and deliver under pressure. And I work with managers, entrepreneurs, senior business leaders, and help them raise the bar, build trust, build high-performing teams as a coach. You can find me at lead.boss.com. There you'll find as well my podcast, which is a high-level performing podcast as well. It's called Peak Performance Leadership.
Nice.
And on the background, in the works, kind of similar to Maureen, I'm actually working on my first book, which is You Don't Know Squat About Leadership, but neither do I. And that word squat is not squat.
Yeah. Well,
So there we go.
I appreciate it, y'all. Like y'all have been fantastic. Thank you so much here for being so forthcoming and for playing so deeply. Outliers. Until the next time that we talk, remember this: be you on purpose. Journey on.